Okay, so I'm going to deviate from this question a little bit. Let's see. Only because it says to plot the points in the coordinate plane and then find the area of each triangle. And I think I want to do a problem first that's a little bit more similar to what you saw in the quiz, which was discussing the perimeter. And this question threw people for a loop, that type of question on the quiz, because it involved several different skills from chapter 1. Okay, so let's plot these 3 points. We're going to kind of leave those off to the side here for a little bit. So first thing you want to notice is you want to make sure that you realize that this is a scale of 2 on your axes. So when you're looking at plotting point A, you're going to go to 1, 2. It's going to be point A. 1, 4, point B. And then 6, 2 is point C. So you have this little triangle here. An area would be the easier option in this case, because if you wanted to find triangle A, B, C, the area, you would have to do area equals 1/2 base times height. And wherever there's a right angle is where base and height meet. So you have to remember, like some people will say this is 1, but since this is actually 2, between 4 and 2, so AB would be the height. So you have A is equal to 1/2 times base times height. So the base, or the height, I guess we looked at first, was 2. And then the base is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we go from 1, remember 1's right here, 2, 3, 4. This is a tough one. Okay, 6 minus 1 is 5. 5 spaces. So we know that this is 10. And then so area is 5 square units. Now, on the quiz, you were asked to find the perimeter. Now that required you to know the distance here, okay, which we said was h. Well, let's call it something else. We don't have to call it anything because we know it is 2. Okay, so we know that AB is 2. Yep. We know that AC is 5. Okay, length. That's why we don't have a symbol here. So it's a right triangle, so you can use the Pythagorean theorem to find the distance between B and C. Okay, so that's A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And if you're thinking, well, we didn't learn the Pythagorean theorem, just this is one option, okay? All right, so A is the smaller leg, so we're going to put 2 in there. 2 squared plus 5 squared. And we don't know C squared, so we don't know the distance between B and C. We're going to, this is a capital C, this is a lowercase c. Welcome to geometry. 4 plus 25 is equal to C squared. 29 is equal to C squared. And I guess while we're here, we're at it. I didn't rehearse this or anything. We just need to know that this is the square root of 29. So then you would be able to say, okay, well, if C is the square root of 29, so that's what? That's BC is the square root of 29. So then you would add those up. So perimeter would be AB plus AC plus BC. Ultimately, yes, I'm stalling. Okay, 29 square root is about 5.4. Now, in the directions on the quiz, it said round to the nearest tenth. So I noticed people were getting that wrong. Incorrect only because they were typing in the wrong number, doing things like that. So please be careful. So you would say, okay, I have 2 plus 5 plus 5.4. So the perimeter is 12.4 units. Okay, and there's a much longer process for that. You could still get it right. you would be able to use the distance formula to find the distance between B and C, and then that would actually be the length of BC, and then that would also come out to 5.4, because when you look at the distance formula, it actually is just derived by the Pythagorean theorem, look. Right? So let's just blow your mind here. A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. So if you're thinking, okay, well, I just want to find the distance between B and C, which we're using as C here, like this. Okay? Now think back to algebra. How would you get C by itself? Because I want to solve for this distance, C. So how would you get this by itself? Okay? Well, what you would have to do is the opposite of squaring, which is taking the square root. So we would take the square root of this side, the square root of this entire side, which you are not allowed to take the square root individually of a squared and b squared, okay? So this is square root of a squared plus b squared, and that's going to be equal to c. Now, the distance formula, actually, we're not even gonna go there. Here, just keep watching, keep watching, keep watching. Okay. So, how do I find a? Well, I will take the coordinates, the y coordinates, because it is a vertical segment, right? So I will take the y coordinates of a and b, and I would subtract them. So I'm saying, okay, well, I'll do the y coordinates subtracted, you know, because we don't know, we'll call one of them y1 and one of them y2, no big deal. We have to remember that we're squaring it still. Okay, all right, all right. Keep watching. All right, so then you have the distance between A and C. So you would have to say, okay, well, if this is just a horizontal distance, so I can just subtract the y, 6 minus 1, right? I mean, the x's, 6 minus 1, right? So there it is, 6 minus 1. So I would say, okay, well, that's what this is representing, x2 minus x1, because we don't know really which one is which. Don't forget it's being squared still, okay? We still have this plus sign in the middle. And that is the distance formula. So if you wanted to use the distance formula, and if you did use the distance formula for that problem to find the distance between B and C, you were actually also using the Pythagorean theorem, and you were saying that a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared, and you can solve for c. So either way, your answer would be 12.4 units for the perimeter of triangle ABC.